Hi, I'm Mark Hall, Drip Specification Manager for the West. Thank you for attending our All-in-One Drip Line webinar. You should have all received your all-in-one boxes. If not, I owe you one. If you can, please turn on your cameras. It'd be great to see you and your displays during our webinar. If not, absolutely no problem. The main intent of this webinar is to give you some new hands-on displays to help you better sell our drip products, but using a systems approach, not just pitching individual products. By selling a complete system, we can easily increase our sales by as much as 10%. Please have your displays nearby for reference if you need them. Also place your audio on mute and I will be happy to answer any questions at the end of my presentation. Again, thanks for watching and let's get started. Okay, all-in-one. We're talking about XFSCV, which is what is in your, all your displays are actually made out of XFSCV, 0.6 gallon per hour emitter with 12-inch spacing, even though we offer a 0.4, 0.6, 0.9, 12 and 18-inch spacing and custom spacing. But the all right here is for surface, so it will work for surface applications, also work for subsurface, whether that be under turf or shrubs, and then it will work for slopes, whether it's buried or on surface. Either way, the main point of our XFSCV is that it has a check valve, and that will hold back up to 10 feet of water for slope situations. That can eliminate any type of low emitter drainage at the base of the slope. It can also increase our water efficiency, whether it's in a flat area or slope. Then, of course, we have the copper, and with the copper chip, that will keep roots from growing into the drip line itself. Again, it's all in one. But these displays can apply to any of our products, the displays that I'm about to show you. So again, all in one, and we are an all-in-one company as far as all the products go. We have everything that any designer, contractor, distributor could ever need. Okay, well, first up, when I do a presentation, especially for specifiers, but it could be for anybody as far as drip irrigation goes. I put together these sample packs. Inside, one of the things you may want to look at first is right here. You can see it. There's a little bit of glare, but sample pack fitting challenge. So you can see all the different parts in there. That way you will know for future reference if you want to build some more sample packs, which I suggest you do, you'll be able to do so with these photos. And also, there's a QR code, as you can tell, to this side. And this QR code goes directly to a video that I put together on YouTube. It's very short, and it talks about how to do our fitting challenge. Again, I think this is a great way to start any meeting. This will give the foundation of all these displays. On the back side, get this in there close, you can see there's all the different products, and also you can see some asterisks. The asterisks are the products that make up the fitting challenge. We also have in there, many of you have already used these. These are flash drives, and these have about 4 gigs of space on here, about 1 gig of information, videos, details, pretty much everything that they need to know about drip irrigation, but also we have a full catalog and a full current price list. And then if they need more information, you can look on the back of the card, and on the back of the card, you will see on here, hopefully you'll see on here, all the different folders that are contained within that flash drive. If you need more of those, just let me know. All right, so let's empty the package. Again, there's a lot of different orders that you could present this in. But I like to start out even with the QF headers. There's some products of interest here that many designers, specifiers have probably never seen or definitely never touched. And that's the key of this whole thing. It is a hands-on demonstration, which is nice to have something to talk from. So if you have everything there, even if you don't use it all, you know, they're always going to ask for something that you don't have, and we're going to have most of it between this package and the displays. So you got the QF, you could talk about that. You can also talk about the twist lock fittings and the cap. I like to put these two in here because you could actually show this as a flush valve. You can show it as just a male adapter. And a male adapter, this could be used for a PVC ball valve for a flush, or it could be also used to connect PVC pipe to your system itself. So it would be like a lateral PVC to this and then to your QF header. So I also like to explain, even at this early stage, is to go through, you can talk about, you know, how we carry this in 12 and 18-inch spacing. You can also talk about how we have a tool, fittings tool, that will fit on the back side of this. So we can go ahead and put our drip line on there quickly, and that the fittings are pre-installed, 3/4 and 1 inch. Also, you know, how do these go on? A lot know what twist lock fittings are, but they don't know how to put them on. So you want to explain that you do a rocking motion and demonstrate how that will go all the way down inside. And then you're actually going to go clockwise, and this is going to tighten down on the outside of your QF header. So this is your twist lock. Again, this is a good way to demo just this part. You could also have PVC there if you wanted to, and show them the differences in the amount of cuts and everything that you have to make this work. Now again, this is leading up to your displays. So there's 2 items. We also have the XFD in here. The XFD is a drip line that we have that not every market uses, but quite a few do. It's our least expensive drip line, but it does not have a check valve in it. So you will need an air relief valve for this particular product. The displays are not built with this, but you can use the displays to demonstrate this drip line. XFD. Next up, we have our XFSCV with the copper and with the check valve. And again, we want to have this, so we have at least 2 of our different drip lines in this package. We also have HCVXR, NetFM's drip line. We're not bashing other product lines. We are just doing a comparison. And that's about the only way they're going to see the difference between how our fittings work with our drip line versus their fittings with their drip line. This is nice because this is the latest and greatest of what they have. It's not like we're showing them some old product or trying to do some type of a trick to fool them into buying our product. That's not what we're doing. We're spec it. So again, that's NetFM's. The same goes for Hunter, Agrifem, and some of the others that actually use the same type of fittings. And this is the coupling. And the coupling, this one's been made universally. Unfortunately, it's used quite a bit with our drip line, both the XFD, XFSCV. So this has been used a lot. So we're going to demo, you know, how do they, on the fitting challenge, and I call it challenge, I like to make it a contest. We can give them a gift certificate with who's the fastest. We could also, sometimes I'll give them $1 toys from a toy store, like some bubbles, or it could be a hat, or there's a lot of different items, little toy cars and that type of thing. It's funny, they really like those things. All they're doing most of the day is sitting behind a computer, so any kind of change is a nice change for them, especially if we're feeding them and we're going to make a contest out of it. So you want to show them how to do this. You want to make sure that their hands back a little bit, and right here is where it's the starting point, and then they're going to go ahead and rock that. Not twist it, rock it into place. Now, these are really sharp, and I found after 2 years of doing the fitting challenge, every now and then somebody gets scuffed up. So I have provided a pair of gloves. I suggest you bring a few pairs to each of your fitting challenges and offer these, and really suggest that they do use them. The only unfortunate thing about the gloves is it's actually easier to put these fittings on than what it normally is. Most contractors do not wear gloves. So we show them that. They usually struggle with it. It's pretty common. There's very few that actually get it all the way to the midpoint. And you want to do, I do like a contest. On your mark, get set, go, and then see, and then I stop the contest usually way early because they never get much past the first barb. I also talk to specification, so you're like, well, so why is that important? Why is spec, the fittings important? Because one of the reasons is the integrity of the way this is connected. Many times it's not connected well, and they get blow off on the drip line. I'm sure they don't want that on their projects. So if they spec it, they can control the way everything goes in. Now, if you bring ours in here, we have a whole different look on the coupling, and they should definitely see the difference between the two. Plus ours actually looks a lot beefier than theirs. But explain how Rainbird, we're known for coming up with tools to make things easier, just like the QF header, to make headers easier to install and just as efficient. So I talked to them about, here's our fittings tool, and then there's two sort of rings in here. On the outer ring, that's where you put the coupling. A lot of them will jump ahead and they'll put it here and they can't get it out and they struggle with it. That's up to you to get them to do it, correctly. So I let them do that part of it, sort of give them a jump on the competition. And then when you look at the XFSCV, I show them that we have these two wings. So you can use the left or right wing, just a couple little turns. You don't have to, but it does help on the installation of our fittings. And then I show them that the technique is the same. It's a rocking motion, and you're going to push that almost all the way to the fittings tool. When you're done, sort of a little tricky is you're going to roll this out. It's going to be a roll it out motion, and that way they're very comfortable. You want them to be comfortable because the happier they are with how this whole demo went, the better chance we have of getting them to remember us and to spec our fittings. So that covers those items. We also have a staple. Now, a lot of times this gets forgotten, and we need to make sure that we remind them that we do have staples. And if they want to know, well, how often do you staple? It's usually every 3 feet if it's sandy, and it's every 5 feet if it's clay. Last but not least, this is not in your package. It's in some of yours because I just received these about a week ago. And this shows the copper chip. It's actually a emitter straight out of our XFSCV line. So this is really helpful. So they actually see what it looks like. Okay, that is the complete sample pack and the fitting challenge. Just please take a look. If you don't have the QR reader, load one on your apps and then go ahead and use the QR code, and it will work really well. I've tried them all, so it should work great. All right, I'm going to take all this away, and we won't be needing the gloves. So let's go to the first display. This is actually one of my favorite displays That's the XFSCV end feed. And again, you'll see on here we have photos on here that are laminated, so you can see what it looks like. You could also cut this off later and put that on the ring that comes in your sample pack that has the other laminated photos on there. So again, this is XFSCV end feed. On the back side of this, if you can see it, there's our detail. And that's a detail right off our drip drive that was also in that sample pack. So this is on our website too. So this is our up-to-date end feed. So I like to use the same terminology as much as I can. That's one of the reasons that I put that on here. So when you go through this, you're going to tell them we have a control zone kit on this end. And then this is a supply header. It actually supplies the water to the drip line. And then this is an exhaust header. And that's where the flushing action is going to go because it's an exhaust. So you got the flush. So again, you got supply and you have exhaust. And then you have a manual flush. You do not need an automatic flush valve. It's not required. You'll see those in the industry, and a lot will say, well, I want something automatic so it cleans all the time. It also wastes water, maybe up to ½ a gallon for every couple flushes. So every time you run your system, you're wasting water, and you do not need to flush this that often. It's mainly at the beginning when you're flushing your system, and then once or twice a year maximum to flush it, even with reclaimed water, because we have a filter that's going to be up front. Now, another way you can utilize this display that I like is this gives them an idea that, well, one, you got to tell them this is really not to scale. Typically, the drip lines are not this close together on the row spacing. So what I like to do is I go to the computer or my phone and I work through doing our drip line calculator or configurator and coming up with the soil type and the plant type and putting in all that information so we can get what the spacing is, which is typically 12 or 18 inches on center for each row. And then also get the 12 to 18 inches on center for each emitter on the spacing of that. And then the flow rates, we have a 0.4, a 0.6, and we also have a 0.9 gallon per hour emitter flow rate. And usually the lower the flow rate, the heavier the soil. And again, the sandier the soil, the larger the flow rate. So you can do a lot with low flow rates. There's a lot of clay soil actually across the West and the US. So again, this is our XFSCV end feed. Now, another item that's on the photo that I did not install, but you can install if you'd like. This is has our operation indicator and a self-piercing barb. Typically, you're going to put this as far away from the supply header as you can. So over by the exhaust header, or even could be right by our manual flush. The reason we like it by our manual flush sometimes is when we want to turn on a system, we can pop this up and we can find where this is in the valve box. So it's really handy. The other reason that we use this particular product, it's really almost made for this type of situation. It is because there's only takes about 20 psi to pop this up. Now, these emitters open at 14.5 psi, but they do not regulate until about 20 psi. So we would know that the emitters are on and they're regulating properly if this is popped up. Now, if you use a spray head, a standard 1800 spray head, or anybody else's, you could get flow by because, one, it's a little heavier spring. It takes a little bit more pressure. And if you don't have enough pressure, you can get flow by between the nozzle, between the riser and the top of this. So anyway, again, operation indicator. You may know most of this, but I like to go through all the items as well as I can, or detailed as I can, so when those questions pop up, you'll be ready. Also talk even about the fitting. You might make a lot of assumptions, but that they may know this, but usually they don't. So this has our male adapters, our elbows, and our crosses. All that's on there. So gives you a good idea. Anyway, that's the XFSCV in feed. Okay. XFSCV in feed. All right, this is another really nice display. Again, this goes back to what was shown at the very beginning. I'm your sample pack. So you've already done a pretty good explanation of this. Again, you may not have time to go through all these. You may just go through one display, or you may just go through the fitting challenge. You're going to be meeting with these customers multiple times, so there's not necessarily the need to show them everything on one go. Otherwise, what are you going to show them next time? And we have lots of things to show, so it's not going to be a problem to have more. So here you can see we've got our 12-inch spacing. This is actually the XFSCV end feed with QF instead of the PVC. So this is the same end feed, really, that I just had shown you. Now, we know that either side could have been end feed, but because I put the flush valve or the manual flush on that side, this is going to be our supply header. So again, this is an end feed, just feeding from one side to the other. All these are, again, the male adapters with the caps. And the nice thing is you can adapt these any way you want. All different types of fittings will work on this. Show them again with our tool, especially if you've got doing a separate demo, show them how our tool fits on here. You can talk about the detail if you want. Again, it's just the exact same detail as what I'd shown you before. So again, this is the XFSCV end feed with QF. Now also, don't forget our operation indicator stake. It's going to be toward this end over here, or it'll be right next to the flush valve. Now I'll show you another way to do an indicator, but right now, this is nice to have around. That's why I left it separate, so that way you can pull that out as you need it, depending on what display that you're wanting to illustrate how it works. Sometimes I even leave this in the popped up position. I'll put a couple fittings inside of here, like half-inch male adapters, and stack them. So this is already popped up. That way I'm not having to do it during the demo, especially if you don't want to ruin your fingernails. All right, that's the XFSCV end feed with QF header. That's pretty quick. Now we have, I call it the big kahuna because it is, but this is a center feed. So this is the XFSCV center feed PVC with QF. So we have on the water is actually going to come in here in the center. That's why we call it a center feed, and it's going to feed both directions. All right, so what's the advantage to a center feed versus an end feed? Well, we can get a lot more distance because when we go through, again, if you go back to the drip line calculator or configurator, we're going to give you a distance, a maximum run that you can go with a certain pressure and a certain flow rate, and we'll give you the distance. So let's say these are actually a 0.6 gallon per hour emitter, which all of yours are also. We can go about 350 feet with 12-inch spacing, 40 PSI. Now, if we have center feed, we can do it both ways. So we can actually go almost 700 feet with a center feed. Now, you might ask why I didn't show this with a QF header. And the reason I didn't is a lot of systems, when you get into these larger systems and manifolds, they go with 1.25 inches, even 2 inches in size as far as the PVC header. And we don't carry that. So that's one reason that we don't do that. But a lot of them, that's what they do. That's the way it works. The other thing on here too is once they go to other sides, so we turn these up on the ends so they can come straight up. Now when you're looking at this whole thing, you're probably thinking, and actually usually they're thinking, wow, that's a lot of product, you know, for this small area. Well, obviously this is something we're showing them what a 700-foot strip would be, maybe in a parkway, all water just with this many fittings, which is not too many at all. A very simple system. Also, you'll see the depth. Like here, it shows about 6 inches. Normally, if this was buried or on surface, this is going to be about 12 inches in depth. So this is good to show them. This is exactly how it's built. It's not like a flat drawing like I had just shown you. Also, on the risers, there's a lot of ways to do risers. Be open-minded. They're going to come up with every other way to do this, and maybe much differently than what we're showing him here. But this will give us a place that we can take some good notes and be able to come back later on, or have some things to come back with them now. This is why we do it this way. So this is just a blank drip line with our XFS insert fittings. And then on this side, I use the SBX, so you can demo a couple different types of risers on here. If you have some others, you could do the same thing. Take these out and put in what works for you or your territory. And then we have the SPX fittings on each side. So that demonstrates there's a lot of things going on here as far as demonstration goes. Flush valves, you're going to want to have flushes on both sides. That's very important. You're also going to want to have, there's an operation indicator on this side, a little bit different. This is something I came up with because I've heard from a lot of different offices that they don't always want to have a barb situation going into here, because over time, especially in some heavy foot traffic area or equipment area, you can actually get, excuse me, you get a leak in here, possibly. So they would rather go with something that's a little bit more of a bulletproof design. And in this case, we're just going with our standard swing pipe, and we're coming up and we're just going with a pop-up. But again, we're going with the smaller 20 PSI pop-up. Gives you an idea on this. Very simple, easy to put together. Again, this looks like a lot, but for doing a long strip, there's not a lot of equipment that goes in here. Now to take this a step further, I have a commercial control zone kit here. And again, it has a tag and the information and even the detail on the back. So with the commercial control zone kit, I put this in here even though we're not going to spend a lot of time on this at this webinar. In a future webinar, we will talk about different control zone kits and how you can utilize them, and maybe some of the features, benefits, that type of thing. But again, we're talking displays. We're talking a full system. We're not just selling them drip line. We're selling them the entire package. And this is part of it. Now, all these displays that I've shown you, you might have to tighten up something here and there, but I don't think you will. They're all actually made for tabletop or outside live displays. Either will work great. Now, on the commercial control zone kit, obviously the valve filter regulator, I went ahead and put a union, a 1-inch union on this side, and on the other side, we have a hose end connection. I find that the brass tend not to leak. We want to make sure that this thing is all tight and as far as the connections go. We don't want any leaking. The only place we want it to drip is on all the drippers, or when you obviously flush. I leave them in the open position so they flush when you first turn it on. So we can just take this off. What's nice again about the union is it's very easy to work with, and we can adapt it. This will work with any of the displays. It's already the right size, the right fittings and everything. So you should be good to go. So then we just spin this on. Doesn't take too long. Again, on tabletop, it's pretty impressive. You know, you're getting the whole thing here, and they really get an idea, something good to talk about. But to me, I still like to keep going with this. If we're going to do this outside, I did provide you with a 5-foot hose, and don't forget to put the washer on. And I said about keeping everything really tight as far as the fittings and everything goes. So I brought in a hose bib, and it does work. You can see I can turn it on and off either way. And if you look on here, there's Teflon tape. Always keep an extra roll of Teflon tape, because this will save you when it comes to leaks, because you're not always going to get different situations at different hose bibs and job sites. So this is here, so we can hook this up. And again, you'll see I even have Teflon tape on the end of the hose. So when I put this in to the hose end connection, the brass one, we've got a great fit, and it's going to stay, it's not going to leak. So we have all that done. So again, this has got everything: valve, filter, regulator, center feed. This could do huge areas with this. We obviously do up to 20 gallons per minute with this, and down to 0.3 gallons per minute. Now, what if you said, you know, I'm in a different territory, or a lot of my jobs, we use XFD, which doesn't have a check valve. Well, with a check valve, you notice we don't have an air relief valve. This isn't in your package, but I would put this in there if this is an air relief valve that's going to have to go. Usually it's going to be one per zone. Sometimes on a center feed, you'll do 2 of these. Then this will expel all the air. So if you have a check valve, it's holding all the water in the drip line. So when you turn on the system, there's no air to expel, and these all go on at the same time. Where with XFD, that's not the case. You need to expel the air. So again, you might want to get an air relief valve. You'll see another part in here that's packaged separately. This is the 1-inch ball valve, PVC ball valve that comes with this unit with our commercial control zone kit. I did not put it in there because I'm trying to illustrate how small the footprint is on our control zone kit. That's a great feature. So I have this separate, so you can say, well, if they want to add a ball valve, here it is. And I do have some designers that put it on the front side and some that put it on the back side. I know we show it is on the back side or the downstream side of the valve. Now, what if you don't have the control zone kit with you? It's another big piece, and maybe you just didn't travel with it, or maybe you want to do multiple displays and run them at the same time. There's some ways that you can do that. Now, if I unhook this, take off the 1-inch union. Pretty easy to take off. Take apart the fitting at the end. You do this enough times, sometimes you need to re-Teflon. Okay, then what I did is I took off the brass fitting and the 3/4-inch nipple, and I went ahead and put that on the end of one of our 30 PSI regulators. Now remember, if you're going to run this system, you need to have a regulator, because if you get anything above 50 PSI, especially 60, 70, you could actually blow the drip line off the fittings, which makes for, well, not a very good demo. But what we can do is, if we don't have the control zone kit, typically we don't need a lot of filtration for this little display. We can just hook this on and then hook the hose directly onto here, which works out great. So again, it's all the portability. And speaking of portability, you probably noticed, I'm sure, that if you opened your all-in-one boxes, you can take this apart, you can bring this around, and this around, and then you can lower a side, lower the other side, take this down, and you're going to be able to take a very nice flat package that doesn't take up a lot of space. I know you're selling a lot of other products, even though you should only be selling drip, but I know you're selling everything else. So we want to make sure that we're giving you a small area. If you find some kind of special bag to put it in that works great, hey, let me know. Maybe that's something that we'll need to start providing. Again, this is the XFSCB center feed with the PVC center feed and QF header on each side. Okay, so see if you have any questions. I know some of you typed some questions in, and we've already responded to those. I think one of the questions that's come up that, you know, we're going to do more with the control zone kit. What about the RWS? So I'll give you an idea of, you know, what our plans are and actually what we're going to do. We do this in the East and the West for spec. Everything is spec related at this time with all ASMs and PAMs. We will also have the control zone kits, possibly even add some valve boxes, which might be a good idea with those. Then we'll do the RWS rope watering systems and tree rings. We will do that with you guys. So that's going to be all internal webinars. Similar, won't be quite as extravagant, but we will send you parts for all those. As far as traveling, it would be great if I could travel with you guys and assist you in incorporating at least some of the displays into your presentations or answer questions. A lot of you have already traveled with me and already know definitely how to do that and have excellent sales skills. Excuse me. We will also be providing external webinars where you can invite your customers for 30-minute webinars that will go through topics such as the drip line RWS, the control zone kits, the QF and PVC headers, drip line design with Land FX, designing complex shapes with drip. There's a lot of different areas that we still need to cover. Anyway, if there's any questions, please feel free to email me or call me, and then we will go from there. Thank you so much again for your time, and looking forward to doing more of these with you guys. Talk to you soon.